Hello patrons! Welcome back to another exclusive video. If you're new to Patreon, welcome. I'm very excited to have you here. And if you're old, I mean not old, but if you're a long-term member, thank you so much for being here and staying here for so long. Today we're actually doing a Q&A, a small business Q&A. I think I've done a few of these in the past, like very casually, but I feel like a lot of things have changed since then, and a lot of you have been asking me a lot of questions, so I thought I would make a little updated one. I'm gonna just answer the questions as it's on the comment section, like the same order and everything, and if it repeats, I will probably skip the question or part of the question. So the first one, yay, hello Tiff, I'm a Tiff too. Hi Tiff. What were the key beginning steps of planning your very first shop launch? And how did you prepare both physically and mentally? Anything you know / learned of in your experience that you wish you knew at the beginning? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate ya. So my very first shop launch was on Etsy, and this was back in, I would say, like 2018, 2019. I think I had just graduated or I was preparing to graduate, and I decided to just like upload a few things onto my store. I actually had an Etsy store from long ago when I was in probably like high school, and I've made a few illustrations and I was like, oh, I want to try to see if I can sell my illustrations. Got zero sales, got zero traffic. I had no idea how to market myself back in high school, and I just did it as a shot in the dark. In college though, I think I had about maybe 1,000 followers at the time. A lot of them were my friends and family. And I just thought like I had a lot of extra material that I had left over from my grad show, and I wanted to put it up somewhere and see if I'm able to get rid of it, because I didn't want to keep inventory of it, especially because I was gonna start a job and I didn't want to have to think about it. I didn't really plan much for my first shop update, which I hope is some relief to you. I actually did it very casually. I literally just listed it on my website. I maybe took a few product photos and then I posted it on Instagram and was like, shop update. Or I put some stickers on my shop, and it was like very casual. And I think because of how casual it was, it made me more confident in like doing more in the future without putting too much pressure on making it perfect, or having like everything set up, my branding, my personality, everything was just like growing as I grew my business. So I think nowadays, because we have so many options, it's very hard to get yourself like motivated to actually begin something. Like you can make TikTok reels, you can make Instagram posts, you can make, I don't know, like email marketing, you can take this kind of photo, do this kind of thing, and it's just like if you think of that as like your first job update, it'll be so overwhelming. I would say for the first steps, definitely just like do something simple, maybe like 1 or 2 products with like a small stock to gauge kind of like how many people are interested at first in specific styles or specific things, and just go from there. Everything that I learned was through like watching studio vlogs from other artists, or just like doing my own research, asking people questions. So anything that I wish that I knew from the beginning when I first started my shop is, I think I would say to not purchase too much inventory. This is actually a mistake that I made, or not really a mistake, I'm gonna call it a lesson. This is a lesson I learned early on, and also was still learning like halfway through my whole journey of growing Apple Cheeks and my small shop. I got in over my head at one point, and I was like, oh my gosh, I made 100 sales on this sticker. Maybe I should in advance buy a lot of them so that I can sell it like over the next few months, and then things will be perfect. I won't have to like pay extra money because I'm ordering a bigger minimum order quantity. And because of that, I am now stuck with like 300 left of a bunch of different products and stickers. And I think like right now I kind of wish that I stuck with like maybe the 100 to 200 quantities, because that's more manageable. But I took a shot in the dark. I ordered 500 of a lot of things and now I'm still selling them. Next question. Hello, Tiff. Hope your day is wonderful. How do you go about finding wholesalers for stickers, blank clothes, blankets, etc.? Do you have any recommendations for companies, at least places to start? Okay, so for a lot of my wholesalers, I would say I've been using them from the very beginning, and they're all like companies that I trust. And yeah, so for example, the ones I use a lot are CapPrint and StickerApp. One is for art prints and Patreon prints, and StickerApp is for stickers, obviously. And I have used a bunch of other sticker companies in the past, and I just realized that like it's more affordable for me to use a certain company versus another one, or maybe I align morally more with one than the other. But yeah, I think with manufacturers, a lot of it is just trial and error. Like literally you just have to put a little risk into it and like test out their products and see if you like them for yourself. Like when I'm trying to find a new manufacturer, all I do is I type in like post-it note manufacturers or like post-it note custom on Google, and I'll just click through the links. I'll see and compare prices of like, for example, if I want to buy 100 from this place versus 100 from this place, which one is more like affordable for me but also like meeting the quality and standard that I would like to see in my shop. Usually this is from like getting samples from them that you can just like order for maybe like $5, and yeah, that seems kind of expensive for like one product. For example, if you buy one post-it note for $5, but I think it's better to spend that initial $5 on a sample than to just like YOLO it and buy like 100 from a company that you've never worked with before. So if they offer samples, I definitely recommend it. For plushies and pouches, I still want to make a video for this for YouTube, but it's just like I just have not had the time to sit down and think about it because I've been moving and all these things. I did find them from Alibaba. One of them my boyfriend actually found for me because he sources a lot of things for his job and he has experience in sourcing. So I'm very grateful that he actually like gave me a lot of tips on how to work with manufacturers. And yeah, I'm gonna try to work on that video. But I would just say a lot of research goes into finding manufacturers and you have to be ready to dedicate a lot of time to it. But my main resources, I just Google everything or go on Alibaba. But yeah, Alibaba is more like international. If you want to stay more domestic, I would definitely just start with Google and just like comparing prices of specific products that you want to see. Next question, how do you find your niche clients? In other words, how do you find followers that are interested in your items? Did you use tags on social media, just put it out there and kept plugging, Facebook ads, etc., etc.? Thanks. So for me, finding my niche clients was just a thing that happened over time. I have been on social media, I would say, since I was like a senior in college. I think that's when I first made my art Instagram account. Before that, I maybe did like some deviant art stuff. I posted on Tumblr, but never really gained any traction. I think it was mainly because it seemed like I was still developing my style and I wasn't really specifically sticking to one thing that made it my work yet. And I think finding your niche revolves around that a little bit of just like people knowing you for this one thing, which can be hard sometimes because then if you want to experiment with a different style, it's all of a sudden like you don't know how your followers will react. But I never used Facebook ads. I just kept posting and kept plugging. And nowadays it's a little bit different than when I started my account like 3 or 4 years ago. Right now it's a lot of just like for example, if you're on TikTok, you want to use a very popular sound and that kind of boosts you in the algorithm. So it's a lot of like, you have to know a lot of like these little tips and tricks into like how to get blown up on Instagram or YouTube or stuff like that. I would just say like for Instagram, if you're promoting your work, just keep doing what you do and what you're passionate about and be consistent. With YouTube, if you want to gain followers fast, I'm never really one to promote like fast followers because I feel like an audience should be grown over time with love and care instead of just like posting one video that blows up, but it's not exactly like what you want to continue to make on YouTube. But yeah, I would say like if you want to kind of like be within the realm of things like studio vlogs, I think studio tours, studio makeovers, like anything related to like arts but has like that big title that everyone recognizes is like a good way to get started. Next, thank you for doing this video. As an artist who's just starting to create content on social media, I would love to know what you think were the most important steps you took to get your art out there in the beginning, / any tips for getting better in exposure in today's social media landscape. So I think this is kind of similar to the question that I answered right before this. I would still agree with what I said before, like be consistent. For TikTok and YouTube, notice trends. There's a lot of those that go around and those will gain you exposure faster. I think back then I posted like once every other day for like years, not seeing any growth at all. And then suddenly I participated in challenges, which I think that still would be kind of relevant. It's also like that trending thing where you do like a draw this in your style challenge and then maybe your favorite creator will post or like reshare your work and then a lot of people have eyes on your work. So I think that could also be a good way to promote it. I definitely think that my Instagram and YouTube grew together hand in hand, and it definitely helped having both of them. Like they kind of went up together in a way. Next question. As a self-employed artist, how many hours did you spend on work? I'm really curious about your time balance of creating art, planning on merch, vlogging, and client work. Is it different from the start, middle, till now? Honestly, to this day, I still have a lot of trouble balancing my time. I think it's because I'm very wishy-washy and the stuff that I want to do is always changing, and it's very hard for me to be consistent with my schedule. I do think it's changed a lot since I first started. So I would say I was more art heavy when I first started this, I guess, like career path. I spent most of my time drawing after work and on the weekends. I think I spent like a Saturday and Sunday editing my video and then I would just post it. And now I would say it's very heavily business oriented, which that's something I'm struggling with right now, is like finding enjoyment doing all the administration work as well as packing orders all day and not having enough like emotional energy to create anything anymore because all of my time is soaked up into the other stuff. When I'm not doing admin stuff, which maybe takes like 4 hours a day, I'm probably doing stuff like cleaning the house or tending to my plants because that's all I have energy for. I'm still trying to figure out how I can implement more art making because I always want to make art, but I feel like I'm at that point where it's hard for me to initiate that drive to like get started in making art. But yeah, I would say like back then, maybe 50-60% of my time was making art and the rest was like admin work or editing videos and vlogging. And right now I would say like 10% of the time I'm making art and the rest is admin and business work. So it's not a really good balance right now, but hoping I'll fix that soon. Did you go through a process where you chose what kind of business entity was best for you? If so, can you describe your thoughts through that? I'm not sure whether it's best to be a sole proprietor, get a DBA, or set up a LLC. We'll love to hear you think if you're comfy sharing. So yeah, this was something else pushed off for a long time when I first started my business. I did apply to be a sole proprietor when I first started, maybe like after half a year to a year of running Apple Cheeks. I think I applied with my state, which is Nevada, and it was free, so I think that's why it was so quick of me to just change it. And everything's the same, you know, like you can separate your business like stuff into a different credit card or, you know, just to like keep it easier for taxes. Yeah, being a sole proprietor is like very simple because it's literally just you as a person doing the job. And what made me change into an LLC was that my tax person, CPA person, was saying how like he recommends that I become an LLC like for me, I'm not gonna say like this is better for anyone because I can only talk for myself and I don't want anyone to make decisions based off of what I say. So he recommended me becoming an LLC because he said I could save a lot more on taxes, I could write off a lot more as like business expenses and stuff like that. Mine is specifically, I'm trying to be a S Corp LLC. So LLC is like the business entity and the S Corp is like what you file your taxes under. And being an LLC means that I am Tiffany, this is LLC. It's another entity, another, you could think of it as another person. Their assets and my assets are totally separate. So if this goes bankrupt one day or if someone sues me for something, me personally, Tiffany Tan, will be okay, but this will not be okay. So that's like a simple way. You need to do a lot more research on this because I clearly don't know as much as I should about this. But yeah, I set mine up through like Zen Business. I could have done it through my CPA, but he was charging an extra $400, which I didn't think was necessary because I see a lot of people setting up their LLCs by themselves all the time. But with an LLC, especially an S Corp, I think you're supposed to start looking into payrolls. So you have to pay yourself every month. You have to get a business credit card, EIN, all these different things that I have yet to start on. Hello, Tiffany. How would you go about building an audience if you had to start over today? If I had to start over today, it's definitely a huge TikTok scene. Like, Instagram is... it's very hard to grow on Instagram, and in my opinion, sometimes it doesn't seem worth it anymore because they're just making it worse and worse for creatives like us to get anywhere on Instagram. Their reach is so bad. I would say though, if you had to do Instagram, a lot of things that I see drive like upwards if you haven't built a name for yourself yet is like comics, relatable things. I see a lot of quotes floating around, like if you're a graphic designer and you want to like hand draw quotes and it's a very relatable quote, I think those are what kind of like grow the fastest. Reels on Instagram get the most exposure, but I see that it does not convert at all into followers or likes or anything, and not even sales. So it really depends though. That's just for me, like what happened to me. I would definitely focus more on YouTube and TikTok in today's atmosphere. I think YouTube is good for like a long-term, like slow growth of an audience, and TikTok is more for like speedy growth. You want to blow up fast, you want to get your plushie made and funded for a Kickstarter or something. Use very popular sounds, get inspiration from other people that have blown up, see what they do, try to replicate it for yourself in your own way. And yeah, that's what I would do. I'm a beginner at art and business. I was wondering how you dealt with insecurities and how long it took for you to feel like your business was stable. I opened my store and I'm trying to post often, but I feel like my income is not getting bigger. And the thought that I should just give up and do something else is getting to me. So I think I've dealt with like social media insecurity for a long time, but it wasn't like huge because back then I didn't have any expectations that I'm gonna just suddenly like blow up and be something big. I think that's something that I always try to do with any situation, is to not have expectations. You never know what's gonna happen, and if you blow up, great, you can be happy and like celebrate that. If you don't, you didn't have expectations in the first place, you did your best, at least you showed up and you did it, and that in itself is like something to celebrate so much already. I think for me, to this day, actually no, I wouldn't say that. I would say it took me more than a year to feel like my business was stable. I think before that it was a lot of like ups and downs, you know, like exploring things, seeing growth, and then all of a sudden like the next month maybe Patreon will be lower by like 100, 200 patrons or something like that. And I would get very anxious, like, oh my god, I'm becoming irrelevant, like what am I gonna do? I've never worked another job in my life besides my first job. How am I gonna get another job? But then those feelings do pass, and I think I kind of need that little bit of insecurity to like jumpstart me back up. I don't know if anyone else feels this, but there's like this saying where it's like you kind of need a fire up your ass, in case there's any children here, so that you feel more motivated and ready to like get going again. And I think that's what kind of drives me, so I kind of like that. Like every time I go on Instagram and I open it and I see like 0 followers gained on one specific day, I go like, I have not seen that in like 2 years. That is my low point. I need to get going right now and like start like getting motivated again. So yeah, I would just say like you should just keep going. Like if it's something that makes you passionate, I would say to keep going. Just make smart financial decisions to not like overinvest in too many products initially. Try different things. I think when a lot of people are doing the same things, it's hard to stand out in the big picture. And so if you try something different and market it in a different way, I think that's always something that's very appreciated. I feel like you should just keep trying it. Just less expectations and just do it as like, maybe like see it as like a hobby or something you do as a passion project or a side project. Yeah, just keep going and keep marching on. Next one is asking about manufacturers, which I covered earlier. Next, what's a good way to get wholesalers and retailers? How do you get started with that? Honestly, I haven't had my first wholesale experience yet. I've gotten inquiries, but no one's really ordered from me yet, which I'm fine with because I don't like, I would see wholesalers and retailers as like an attachment to my shop. Like it's not necessary, but it would be cool to see it there so that people are able to like find my things in a physical location, but it's not something that I spend a lot of time on. So from asking all my other friends, what they usually do is they'll maybe have a business card with their information on it, and they'll walk into the stores that they want to be in and just be like, hey, I was wondering if you take wholesale orders or if I'm able to like get my work to be in the shop one day. And then you hand them your business card, they'll check out your account, and if they are the type that like seek out new shops that they want to support and small businesses they want to see in their store, they will reach out to you. I would just say like make friends with them, because a lot of the times like if you just like talk to people, they will open up to you and something can happen from that. But yeah, I still have not started. I'm actually working right now to get my stuff into a Vegas store, but I'm trying to figure out like the whole like contract stuff with them before I sign anything. The next one, how do you deal with color matching for production? Do you invest in a Pantone reference? If so, at what point did you decide to get it, considering how expensive references are? I do use a Pantone guide whenever I make plushies or when I make pins and stuff like that. Like non-digital print stuff, I use Pantone colors, and pretty much Pantone is a universal color book where you can say, I want blah 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 number color for this section of my plushie, and then someone in China or someone in the US will open their Pantone and be like, oh, I see this color right here, and they'll like compare it to like the fabrics, or they'll compare it to like the paints and stuff, and then that way you can get a more accurate color. So yeah, I do use a Pantone guide. I don't know, it's just something that I did for my previous jobs. And yeah, I think it's a good investment. I think if you're buying one though, definitely put it somewhere dark so it doesn't fade and you can use it for longer. If you keep it somewhere where there's light, it will fade over time. Yeah, there are some things that I would invest in. I think invest in it if you know for sure you're gonna use it a lot. If you're only gonna use it once or twice, maybe see if your local library has it, or if you have a friend that can lend it to you. Sometimes you can also ask the manufacturers if they can take swatch sample photos for you. Not gonna be 100% accurate because you don't know exactly where they're taking the picture, but at least that's like a closer thing than having to like invest in a Pantone guide. How do you create a consistent art style / color palette or something recognizable so they know it's you? I don't think it's something that I was very like aware of when I was starting. I think I just used a lot of colors that I personally liked. and I drew a lot of things that I really liked as well. And I think after I graduated college, my style became more consistent. Within like the years that I was in college, my style changed so much because you're learning a lot of figure drawing, you're learning a lot of still life or painting, portraiture, all these things, and you're not really focused on developing your style until later on. And yeah, I didn't really fully know what like my style was until after graduation. I think just over time, you know what you like as a person, and that kind of influences your work and it becomes more consistent. Do you have any Excel templates slash tips on managing the costs and profits of sales for beginners to your business? I don't have a template and I don't feel comfortable sharing mine because I'm not a professional like Excel template maker, and I don't want to like put out something that I'm not confident is accurate for this type of thing. But yes, I do manage my cost and profits on an Excel template just so that when I file taxes, I know exactly like where I spent my money, how much I made, and stuff like that. I think it's very important to keep track of these things just so that you know how to do taxes afterwards. There's also like apps and free apps where you can see all these things. I forgot the names of them, but I'm sure you can find it if you Google it. What is the best advice you ever received in regards to this business? I think the best advice that I've ever gotten is that you will have your highs and you will have your lows. You will make mistakes, and it's actually better if you make mistakes because then you'll learn to not do it again or to do things in a different way. The worst part of the business is that you're doing it alone. All the decisions you're making it alone unless you have a partner. But if you're doing what I'm doing and you don't have a partner, everything is on you. Everything that happens is on you, and you shouldn't be too hard on yourself because you're learning and you're doing something that you might not know a lot about, and it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to grow from those. Did you use any particular techniques or methods for audience engagement when you were first starting out? Do you have any advice on how to attract audiences, especially those starting out have low exposure slash follower counts? I don't think I was using anything in particular. Like I wasn't like purposefully doing things to gain more exposure. But what I noticed that people enjoyed a lot was like when I shared stuff about my personal life. When I did like polls and stuff, because then people feel like they're included in your life or in your artwork decisions or stuff like that. I think people really like to see the artist behind the art and what they like to do on their free time, what they like to eat, when they wake up and sleep, how they run their business. So I think YouTube is a really great way for people to see that and be able to kind of like see who you are and like be able to appreciate your work because they know your personality a bit more and like why you would create that piece or the process of making that piece. But yeah, I think also I posted at the same time every other day consistently. That was like the only technique that I really did, I would say, for like Instagram and YouTube. Who are the behind the scenes people that keep your business running? Do you have a team or are you doing it all solo? I'm doing it all solo. Besides my CPA, I am doing it all solo. I wish I had the behind the scenes people that are just like moving my camera around so I can just sit there and order them around. Yeah, my CPA just does my taxes and occasionally takes my money for asking him stupid questions for an hour. Maybe my boyfriend helps me pack orders once in a blue moon. How do you silence the negative self-talk and get motivation for your business? I see people who have consistent shop updates and tons of products. While inspirational sometimes, I can get discouraged as well. I don't get that much creative juice or time working another full-time job, and it makes me feel insecure in my art journey. If you experience feelings like this, how do you combat them? It's very hard because even after all this time, I still do have a lot of negative self-talk mostly when I'm resting and I'm not working. I think that's when I have like the most loud negativity in my head. I think I usually am able to drown it out when I start feeling like I have a purpose. Like I need to do something for my business in order to like proceed forward. And when I have those moments, I can like work nonstop and I won't really have too much negativity. But for me, I do have some negativity in my head in terms of like comparison. I think that's something that I've always had growing up, was that I was really bad at not comparing myself to other people. And I think that has to do with being raised in a Taiwanese household where Taiwanese parents and Chinese parents always compare you to like your friends and stuff like that, and how they're so much better than you, even though they don't mean to be mean. That's just how they show love, unfortunately. But I think in my head, I try to remind myself that like everyone is on their own life path. And yes, this person may be doing super well compared to this person, but we all grew up differently and we all attended different schools, had different education, had different advantages in life or disadvantages in life. We all had maybe like 5 years more experience than someone that has 1 year experience. And I think like knowing that everyone has like all these different lives kind of reassures me that like I don't have to be exactly on the same pace as someone else, because we aren't the same person. And it unfortunately doesn't work that way sometimes. I think a lot of like these type of things console me and make me feel better when I compare myself. As for like not having as much creative juice, I would say like take it at your own pace. Like make art when you want to make art. Like you don't want to push yourself to the point where you don't want to make anything at all. And the fact that you have a full-time job is amazing, because that gives you kind of like this space to either make art or not make art to sell as like an income. Like if you're able to just like view art again as just like a pleasurable thing and not as like another job you have to do, I think that is like the perfect situation to be in. I think for me, the only way that I was able to have a full-time job back then and also do Apple Cheeks was 100% because I had no friends. Like if I were to have a social life and a full-time job, that would not have worked out. And I'm not telling you to ditch your social life, but there's a lot of just like sacrifices you have to make, like what's more important to you in life. For example, right now, my plants are a very important part of my life. And so it's very hard for me to focus on making art. But I'm trying to not guilt myself into like not making art because of my plants. And I'm trying to say like, I needed this break from making art to have a different creative or fun outlet for myself to recharge for my next big art journey step. But yeah, it's a lot of just like self-comfort. Like I have to comfort myself a lot so that I stop thinking that way. But it's definitely something I still deal with every single day. And that is all the questions. Thank you so much everyone for leaving a question for me. If I miss anything, you can always leave it as a comment below and I'll try to answer it through text. I hope that was helpful. And I will see you next month with something else. Bye!